Today I'm going to do a little bit of a repair video on this DBX 166 audio compressor. I bought this compressor because I really want to get the audio quality of my videos up, and I find the digital compressors that are built into the video editors are kind of cumbersome to use, so I figured it would be better just to try to fix my source audio. Unfortunately, I got this thing and it doesn't work. It was shipped in this box here, which as you can see is only slightly larger than the unit. It's too small for the unit. And there's a nice big dent in this corner. It almost looks like the US Postal Service went and taped that up. I don't know if that's something the shipper had or what. And then when we look at what this thing was packed in, there was an old scrap of foam. That's nice. There was a little bit of bubble wrap here, not too much. And on either side, there were envelopes like this, kind of, protecting, supposed to protect the unit. Anyways, that didn't work. And the peak stop selector on channel 2 is totally broken. This cover's missing, but that was missing in the picture. But yeah, sort of the funny thing is that on the eBay listing, there was a piece of paper that said "good" in front of it, implying that it had been tested. So presumably this wasn't broken when they shipped it, but now it is. I'm going to take this unit apart and see if I can get it to work so I don't have to send it back. Now, if you've seen any of my other videos, you'll notice I have a different screwdriver. I'm not using the screwdriver of death today. It's not because I got enough subscribers to actually get any money from YouTube anymore, because the limit is 1,000. But you know what, guys? I really appreciate every sub that I got, and I thought I'd celebrate by investing in a screwdriver. Pull all those screws. Now, something a little scary is that it's missing a screw at the back here, so it's been pulled apart before. Case is off, and there we go. So if we look inside, what do we have here? It's actually pretty clean construction here. I kind of like how they've done this. Somebody with OCD went and lined up all the resistors and diodes in a nice row. I'm going to guess that probably, like, we're talking channel 1 here, channel 2 here. The circuits seem to be the same. We've got, all your resistors and some axial capacitors, it looks like. And then we've got some nice chips. Let's take a look at what they are. Yeah, this is a TL074CN, which is an op amp, I believe. And I think we've got other op amps here. Now, the circuit on the compressor is really going to be a chain of op amps. The functions that we have on the compressor are an expander and a compressor and a limiter. So you can imagine, like with the expander / gate, you have an op amp circuit set up with a triggering level, and anything below that triggering level gets cut off. So that's essentially how that works. Here we have the compressor, so the compressor basically cuts off everything over a certain level, or it actually attenuates everything over a certain level. So again, op amps in order to build that. Another great use for an op amp of some sort. So the circuitry itself is basically a whole bunch of op amps. One thing annoying is that if you take a look at the back here, I can't actually disassemble this unit fully because the XLR plugs on the back have all been riveted in, which I don't like at all. Power supply section looks to be in here. There doesn't seem to be any, smoke coming out of any of these components at all. Okay, let's take a look. Maybe the this broken peak stop limiter is causing a problem, preventing it from powering up. Okay, this board here. Oh, it's got all the LEDs are on that little daughter board, which is kind of fun. So you've got like 20 holes on the front of this thing, and the LEDs just poke into them. Chips we have on these are a BA 1033-9. Not sure what that is. Probably a LED driver of some sort. Yeah. Anyways, let's put that aside. It looks all good. And we'll take a look at the board inside here. Whoops. Okay. So, what have we got? There's our potentiometer, and it has totally broken away from the board. The connectors have sheared here. I mean, I can't even get in there and kind of like wire up some new wires because it's totally broken. So this is junk, and you might be able to see underneath there's the pads on the board. They've just got some pins sticking out of them. Just not very good at all. Let's see if I can get this potentiometer off of that board really quickly. Take a look at it. Okay, it's not really the right tool for the job, but whatever, it's okay. Try to get the knob off first. Nothing on there. Okay, knob is coming off. And just need to unthread that. Wasn't on very tight. Okay. Potentiometer's out, and I don't want to drop those. Yeah. So you can see there's the 3 pads. Actually, it doesn't look like there's anything sticking out of those. They're just totally empty, which brings to mind the question, where'd the pins go? I don't know. They're gone. Well, there you have it. The peak stop limiter is just not going to work without that. I'm kind of thinking maybe the potentiometer is somehow in the circuit preventing it from powering up. So I'm going to emulate the pot just by using a couple of resistors, and I'll bridge these, and we'll see if this thing will fire up. So, just going to place this in. Good. Soldering iron's handy. You probably should use some flux, but I'm just going to try to patch that in for a second. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, there we go. So let's see if this thing will actually work. There's no actual power switch on this, but nothing's happening. Nope, nothing, no lights. Totally dead. I guess the resistor hack didn't work. That wasn't the problem. Next step is to pull out a meter and check my voltages. Here's the power supply for the compressor. It is a pretty straightforward supply. So here we can see the power plug. We've got a couple of capacitors right across it. We've got an MOV as a surge protector there. A couple of tabs of some sort. Some jumpers here. Looks like a fuse connector there, but it's been shorted across, so it looks like the fuses are not actually used in this particular revision of the power supply. There's a pretty obvious full wave bridge here, and on either side of that bridge we've got plus 24 volts and minus 24 volts. There's some more filtering capacitors here, and then we have 78M15 regulators on either rail. This power supply has a positive source on this side and a negative source because the device itself is full of op amps, and you need a negative voltage source for the vast majority of op amp circuits. There are a couple diodes here, and there are 2 test points, test point 3 and test point 4. These will be at 15 volts. They're coming out of these regulators at 15 volts. And so if I test test point 3 or test point 4 versus test point 1, I should see 15 volts coming out of that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start here. I'll test there, my first test. Then I will start going backwards through this chain to see where I have voltages. So let's take a look. Before we get started, if you want a great multimeter, don't buy H&H brand. It is pretty crummy, but it'll work. It's kind of sad that my probes, which are actually quite good, are worth about 10 times more than the multimeter. But for this job, they're going to be fine. One thing annoying about this circuit board is none of the parts are marked, including the test points. So I'm just going to guess test points here. So let's just see what we've got. Got nothing on these two. This is probably test point 2 and test point 3 should be, 48 volts across there. There's nothing. There's this guy here. Let's just we're going to have some fun here. I have 0 volts anywhere. That's not good. So let's move back to the full wave bridge, this dial bridge here. I'm going to try to do this without electrocuting myself while keeping the camera view open. Let's just try to see if there's any voltages across any of this. It's not marked. It's really hard to tell. No, there's nothing. There are no voltages in this power supply anywhere. Okay, I'm going to test this jumper here, which on the circuit diagram has 24 volt and 15 volt outs. So the last two pins are 24. Nothing. We'll see if these are, oh no, that's keyed. So it's not that side, so it's got to be that side. And there's nothing there. There's no voltage. So maybe the power plug's dead. I'll switch this to AC. Got to be careful here, don't want to zap myself. Let's test across. 120.4 volts. So we've got voltage coming in. I'm going to test across these capacitors if I can. Yeah, 120 volts. So those caps are good. Okay, so let's look a little bit at this circuit. There are two tabs. I can see them here on the circuit board. Let's just see if there's voltage there. 120 volts there. And then we've got our fuse holders that I talked about earlier. So let's see if we've got voltage there. No, no voltage there. Let's check the other side. Nothing. Okay. This jumper here, which I presume is J4, is connected to a big blank space in the circuit diagram. But this is obviously, with that full wave bridge and all the standard regulators, this is a basic linear power supply, meaning there's got to be a transformer somewhere. So where's the transformer? And you know what? The transformer is supposed to be right there. There is no transformer in this thing. This unit is missing a key component of its power supply. It's missing the transformer. Obviously, this was sitting, somewhere at some point in its life. It got scavenged for parts, and someone stole that transformer to use in something else. It's not been ripped out or anything. It was, removed cleanly, unplugged, and it's gone. So I guess that answers why this thing doesn't work. There's no transformer. It makes me wonder why it was marked good when I bought it from the vendor on eBay. But, well, whatever. Yeah, this thing would never, ever, ever work without that transformer. So I guess I'm going to go back to the eBay seller and ask for my money back, because this thing would never work. And it obviously had not been tested. They marked it good in the pictures. It ain't good. Never would be good. It's missing a key part. And I somehow doubt that the U.S. Postal Service along the way disassembled this unit, pulled out the transformer because they needed a spare one, and you know, packaged things back up and sent it off to me. Okay, well, in the meantime, I kind of came up with an idea. Now, don't let anyone say a Coco's not useful, because I got this spare transformer from a Coco 3 that, well, I don't know exactly how many volts it puts out. I think it's something like 15, 16 volts. But I'm going to use this, and I'm going to see if I can power it up. So I did a cheesy little wiring of 3 wires onto the end of it. Note to anyone, you know, hey, if you've got a spare Coco lying around, maybe the motherboard died, don't throw out the transformer. You might need it one day. Okay, let's connect this thing up, see if we can get any results from it. Watch what you're doing. So we got 2. I mean, the odds of this actually working are pretty slim. But you know what? Sometimes you got to take a risk. Okay, so let's check and double check this. Center tap's the important one. Center, 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 center. Going to that center rail. Okay, let's plug it in and see what we got. Anything? Oh, hey, look at that. There's a light on. See that? There's a couple lights on. Let's go back to our test points here. 20 volts. Can we see that multimeter? Okay. I've got nothing. Oh, did I have something? I've got minus 11 volts. I had 18 volts. Right. Probably a plus. And I got 11 volts. Okay, so that's not 15 volts. It's a little low. But might just do the trick. I'm going to put this thing back together and I'll plug a mic in and we'll see if it works at all. Okay, well, hey, take a look. It actually functions. A little bit lower voltage. And of course, the power plug's not plugged in anymore. But with the color computer transformer, my compressor is working. I've got a bypass right now, so I'm going to bypass. And now the compressor's on. And there's a gate there. I can adjust the gate. You can see that working. And there's the compressor at the top. And my output gain, so I can adjust the gain on this. Now, it takes a little while to actually set up a compressor. It's very tough to do this when you're recording your own voice, especially. So I'm going to have to play with it to make it sound really good. But the good news is that it sounds okay. And it doesn't sound super distorted. And it seems like the compressor is compressing. So this is great news. Yeah, that's about it. I guess it just goes to show that you sometimes see things listed. They're not always as advertised. Let the buyer beware. I hope you like this video, and I hope if you like this content, you'll subscribe. I really appreciate all the subscribers that I've got. I'm getting close to 1,000. That's going to be a big number for me. And, you know, I really appreciate when you click that subscribe button. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.